Hey, I'm JM and I'm your host,
And I'm your co host, Sam. And together we're here to bring you
the
the Solo
Solo Success
Success
Podcast.
Podcast.
So, the reason why we're bringing this to you today is that the hair and beauty industry is moving fast towards a world of freelancers. Over 70% of people working in the space are freelance, and actually 48% of salons are looking to close within the next couple of years. So, there's a big opportunity for those who want to go solo. But what we found is that there wasn't any good resource out there to help you on your journey.
So, on each episode, we'll be speaking to different industry experts and insiders, those that have been on interesting journeys and that have stories to tell. And they're going to be sharing their tips and advice on how you can elevate your solo beauty career.
I'm super excited. That's so awesome. Let's get into it. Welcome, Maddi. Super excited to have you with us today. So just a little intro for those who don't know Maddi. You are a business coach specialized in the hair and beauty industry. You went from kind of local hairdresser to like online kind of global coach course, online course. And I think something that really kind of sets you apart is that you really know what it takes to go from surviving to thriving. What you're probably the most famous for is your Boss Your Profits pricing calculator that has made millions of pounds for hair and beauty professionals. So I think that's where most people will recognize you. So welcome. We're super excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
So I think to get started, I think you started from as a hairdresser and you then become a business coach. What inspired this transition?
I wish I could tell you that this was a really strategized, planned out thing, but as many things in my life, it was purely coincidental or accidental or universe vibes, whichever you believe. So I had a salon and I got a leaflet through the door, and it was pre-Brexit days. So it was the days that I've been in the EU, and there was some EU funded business courses. And I'm a northerner. I just saw free stuff and I thought, oh, I love free stuff. Let's go and see what this is about. And it just blew my mind. Do you know the whole thing? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, wow, we are out here running businesses, having staff, like lots of responsibility, leases, bills, and we have no idea what we're doing. Like, we've not been exposed to the business side. So I just got kind of hooked from there, got really into like business books and podcasts and courses and mentorship. And I found that I had quite a knack for translating what might be sometimes kind of boring, jargon, stuffy language to like hairdresser language. So I was like, right, this is what it is, but this is what it means for us. And then it just grew really naturally. So people on Facebook started being like, Maddi probably will know this, or, getting in my DMs. And I decided to build a Facebook group because I thought it's a bit, efficient to answer that to more people that were asking me the same questions. And that still exists. We've got about 34,000 people in there. So,
Wow.
and it just progressed. I listen to the industry. I'm really good at like working out. This is what they're looking for help with, and building stuff around that. And then, then lockdown was absolutely huge, really, really pivotal. Obviously, it was a really stressful time for everyone. And shortly after that, I was like, oh, I might need to leave hair to do this full time.
And
that's what I do.
I see. So essentially what happened is you were a hairdresser, you started getting interested in this pre-Brexit.
2018,
2018. And then COVID happened, and that's when you took the plunge and you were like, let me do this. What triggered that? Like, what triggered this kind of, because, you're getting that knowledge, you did the group before that?
Yeah. So I started Bossy Salon in the group in 2018, and it was just very much what I'd call like side hustle. I had like a £3.50 ebook, and I was like, oh my God, people are buying this ebook, which was so cool. And I tried like a couple of little online courses, bits and bobs, and I did some in-person kind of group coaching. And then it was very, very early in the lockdown. So I had a salon in the lockdown. The first week was the usual, like, absolute crisis meltdown. We didn't know we were getting grants. It was like super scary. And then I just like leaned into the group because I kind of thought, if I don't focus my energy somewhere, this is not going to go well. So I was like, right, let's just show up. Let's just be here. And I just posted a question that like changed my life, changed many lives, which was, does anyone need a hand with pricing? If I did something around this, would that help? And I got a bunch of yeses. I thought, cool, I'll spend a couple of days. I made a spreadsheet, and then that was history, really. It just went absolutely insane after that. And we've had about 6,500 people use that. That turned into an app. So we have it as a kind of web app now. And Yeah, about 6,500 people have used that, and that's what's generated, like, at the last count, which was in about 2021, it was like 50 million in profit. So I think I can comfortably say like over 100 million in additional profit now, which is pretty cool for an industry that I love and I grew up in.
That's just simply amazing. Like when people talk about having an impact on the industry, like that's probably the biggest impact you can have, because these are really hardworking hairdressers who have really benefited from your tool. If you were to like break it down in a very easy way, what would you say is like the most common mistake that hair and beauty pros do with their pricing?
Yeah. They copy other people. That's like the top and bottom of it. And if you look at the journey into the industry, you either come in as an apprentice and then you tend to look to what the salon owner did in your place if you go off and work elsewhere. Or if you go to college, this still horrifies me, but they do a class which is about, I'm doing air quotes, competitor research, where they get students to literally bring up 5 other hairdressers nearby, and they just say, right, just plonk yourself in the middle. So we have this like industry-wide blind leading the blind. Like the going rate is just insane to me when I see how much people actually need to be charging, like in the maths. And I see it everywhere. I see it in groups. In the lockdown in particular, it was coming up as, what's everyone charging when we go back? Is everyone charging for PPE? Are we doing a PPE charge? So there's this like idea of we have to be charging the same. There's like a market rate that we have to stick to. That's a huge mistake, but I understand why we make it. I did the same thing, because there's no one, unless someone like me can come and intercept quite early. That's the kind of route that we end up going down.
Okay, so biggest mistake is benchmarking yourself with your competition and pricing yourself almost like as an average of what's around you.
Yeah.
What is the right way to do it?
The numbers, and if you're not good at numbers, use. I've got a calculator, so I'm biased to that. But
so where can they find your calculator? I think that's maybe the first plug. Like, where can they find your calculator?
Of course. Thanks for the shameless plug. So if you go to bossyoursalon.com/bossyourprofits, it's in there, or it's in my Instagram bio. And basically you want to look at your numbers sort of just for you. So there's so many different moving parts. Like I do this talk in a masterclass called Her Down the Road. And just to kind of give a really tiny version of that, if you base your prices on Her Down the Road, which is what so many of us do, you don't know if she could work faster than you. Her work could be potentially not as good as yours. She hasn't spent as much on training. Her household income is double yours. She has no kids. She has no debt. She has savings. She has inheritance. She might have a sponsorship from a brand, so she doesn't pay for any of her stock. And so many other factors that she could work for half of what you need to charge and still be making more money. And you just have no idea, because when we look at people's price lists online, which is what we're copying from, they sadly don't attach like a PDF with like, oh, my partner makes this much and this is how many kids I have, because that would make it a lot easier to do a fair comparison. So yeah, we've got to think about what you want to earn, what you need to earn, how you want to earn that money as well. Like I see a big mistake people do when they try and do the math themselves is they go, oh, how many weeks in a year? I work 5 days a week. And I'm like, where's your time off? Like, you will literally have to work 52 weeks of the year, never get sick, never take a holiday, or you fall behind and then have to play catch up. So even like the basic, things like that, we miss out.
I think that's like a really good point in terms of like looking at what your situation is and what you need, and also thinking about these contingencies like holidays. I mean, this is not even the contingencies, like you need a break or you'll be sick.
Yeah.
And what do you think, because I started doing this as well myself, like starting planning for a little bit later down the line. Like, what about like pension? What about like what's happening afterwards?
Oh, Jim, don't get me started on this. So this is one of my many hills that I'll die on. But I was behind the chair for 12 years and I had back surgery at 32. Like, that is no age to be that sort of decrepit. And I had before that like many years of sciatica, like every January, like clockwork. As soon as I took a break from work at Christmas, my body just was like, please don't make me go back and do this. It is such a physical job. We don't tend to see a lot of very old, very healthy, very wealthy hairdressers. We see people who are doing it because they have no choice, which is what we don't want to see. So thinking of pensions, like how, and this is like a human kind of bias, how we think that what's going on today is how our life will always be. So we never think will get sick or get old or, not be able to work how we work currently. So having an exit plan, like retirement plan, even at the very least, like having some savings, having like 3 to 6 months of personal bills, of business bills is like the bare minimum. But yeah, we want to be thinking of the long term. Like I think of one of my private clients closed her salon, and it's cost her in the region of £70,000 to close a salon because she has so many. She's got to make people redundant. She works mainly like skincare, so all of her machines were leased. And I think we don't talk about that either. When people are like, "Oh, I want to open a salon," everyone's like, "Yeah, girl, go. Good for you. Believe in your dreams." And I'm like, "Yeah, and think about it now, and think if I close this in 20 years." Like gift vouchers, she had to give back like, I don't know, 12 grand in gift vouchers or something. So it's just the stuff that it's like our blind spots because there's just so few people know about it or even talk about it. Not to be the bringer of doom, but just plan ahead.
Do you think that's quite a British thing that people don't really want to talk about money? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm lucky. I travel a lot. I spend a lot of time in the US, and what I love about there is like their mentality is so different. Like people are so open about their business, their goals, their finances, and I think it's really important that we are like that, because look at where it ends, look at where it takes us when everyone's keeping their profits behind closed doors. I'm not talking about accounts and taxes and tax planning and future planning. It doesn't help. But again, I was raised in a family where no one talked about it. You did not ask how much someone made. It was like quite rude to speak about money. So it's like we have to break these cultural or generational cycles and be like, actually, guys, we need to sit and talk about this. It's really important.
Yeah, completely. And look, I have like a business background. So even though I am very in tune with business, I never thought about these kind of personal finance questions. So I think like if you're a hairdresser or a beauty therapist or a nail tech and you haven't thought about this, don't feel bad about it. I think like we all make that mistake. Yeah. It doesn't really kind of matter where you are in your life. The important thing is just to think about it now and do something about it. I think like what you're saying is very important. That's something I've started doing as well. Like having 3 to 6 months of personal runway is so important in case something happens. Like everybody's talented. I think like when you start doing hair, like you have a talent, and even if things don't work out, if you have 3 to 6 months, like you can back yourself to find something else. But if you have a week or 2 or even 0, like that's much harder.
Yeah. And look at the lockdown. Like this is why it was highlighted so much for me, is that we couldn't stand like 5 days without working. And like, yes, no one could have foreseen how, 15 weeks off, some places had even longer, and I don't, touch wood, I hope that'll never happen again, but you just don't know what's around the corner. And I just would hope that we would learn lessons from that. And I think even just from like a nervous system perspective, like it is so much more relaxing to go about your life, not being like, oh my God, if my boiler breaks, I'm going to lose my house. Like that is, we don't think creatively and in a smart way when we're under immense pressure. Like if you're in survival mode, like your frame of reference is tiny and you don't really make good decisions in that mode, you just like lose your mind a little bit. So giving yourself that, like easing the financial pressure will actually allow you the space to think more broadly and creatively to then build out whatever that kind of future plan looks like. So it's like
and that always reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Benjamin Roosevelt or Franklin, one of the two, where it says like, if you fail to plan, you essentially plan to fail. And I think that's like something that I always I always keep in the back of my mind. When you talk about this, it feels like very personal. And I feel like this is something that you had to go through yourself as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always say I didn't like come out the womb with a spreadsheet, knowing what to do with pricing. Like my initial prices were terrible. My initial business was just a wing and a prayer. I had no boundaries. I was so like emotionally wrapped up in my business. I think something really unique about the hair and beauty industry that isn't applied in any other industry, and I've worked with people outside of our industry, is that we are so in the business of relationships. Like I've gone to the same mechanic for 10 years. I don't even know his name. He knows nothing about me. I know nothing about him. He knows my car and, writes it down in a paper diary. That's it. I'll see you next year. Whereas like your clients, you've seen them through like marriage and divorce and kids and job losses and parental stuff. And that has this whole other layer in our industry of like the emotional side, which can again blur the business side. So we have to kind of balance not being a robotic distance person, but also having really good boundaries and policies and protecting ourselves. And I had none of those. Like, I had really low prices. I thought that would attract everyone. It attracted not so great clients in a lot of ways. I worked mobile. I covered an enormous space. I was, in my car 3 hours a day, working till like coming home at midnight, driving in the snow. Yeah, and it sucks, but sometimes you have to hit a bit of a sort of rock bottom moment. I had that with pricing quite a few times before I learned my lesson. I had that with what I call my booking system origin story, which was, I'm happy to tell you, I have had really like rock bottom revelation times, and I don't want people to have, I don't want anyone to have back surgery or to have to be like crying at McDonald's drive-through at midnight because it's the first time they've, eaten that day. And I don't want people to have, my booking system on, if I can tell you that. I want to say 2014, so quite a while ago, I rented a chair at a salon, and she'd had some kind of renovation work done. And I was there, it was Friday afternoon. I just finished my clients. So like I did extensions, like her hair's amazing. I've just styled it. I'm about to get my paper diary at the time. There's a few other staff, a few other clients, and there's just this noise that I can't even describe, but my brain went, this is an earthquake, get on the ground. Like, that's how loud it was. So it's this snap and then this like rumble. What it actually was the suspended ceiling had snapped, and then the whole ceiling came down on the original ceiling snapped, that fell onto the suspended ceiling, then the whole thing came down. So the ceiling collapsed on us while we were at work. Oh my God. And it was hideous, like really, really hideous. Like, we're taken to the hospital afterwards. People asked if we'd been in a fire because we were just like covered in what looked like soot. There was like screaming. I thought that my client had died. I was like, I'm going to have to tell her husband. She's got kids. It was just, everyone got out in one piece, which was grand. But like, I had to get rescued by emergency services, go to hospital, awful. But what was stuck in the salon was my paper diary and my phone. So I managed from someone else's phone to get a message to my husband, to get a message to my parents who live nearby. I got picked up. And once I knew I was physically okay, the immediate next thought was, my paper diary's in there. I have no business if I don't have that. And I don't have my phone. So I don't know who I've got in. I don't know how to contact them. That's my livelihood. If I do not go to work tomorrow, I do not earn any money. I can't pay my bills. I have a house. So see how very shortly after that, I was like, okay, again, touch wood, this will never happen. Some way to be able to keep on top of my business, to be able to contact my clients immediately, and to be able to, like, via the cloud, log in on any computer or any phone and be like, this is what's going on. So again, don't wait for back surgery. Don't wait for a freak salon collapse accident, and don't wait till you're crying at McDonald's. Like, my life tips, like, do it. If there's even like a niggle in you now that pricing's not right, or policies need to be put in place, or, it's time to move on to like a booking system, do it while it's just that niggle. I think it's Oprah who says, like, it'll come as a whisper, then it comes as a knock on the door, and then it comes as like a scream. I've had a lot of like kicking your door down, screaming, like dragging you into this progress. If it's a whisper, listen to the whisper, do something about it.
I love that story. This is so good. I think we're all about booking systems and technology and getting technology to support you in your business. And I think that story really rings so true. Like, when I speak to people who still run with a paper diary, I wouldn't say horrified because I've heard it so much, but I'm like, ooh, this is quite risky. Like, you risk losing everything.
It's so risky,
and double booking, and how about your policies and so on. So yes, that's a really that's a really really crazy story. Story. I'm like still processing it.
Yeah, it's an insane story. It's true though. It was in the newspaper. But also, like, what I see when I work with coaching clients, when they have, some of my clients are still, paper diary people, and I'm trying, I'm getting them along. But I've seen people take their paper diary on honeymoon. And I think something else that I love about a booking system that isn't really the general selling point of a booking system is the boundary that it gives you, and that like bubble that it can protect you from. Is that it does this job for you, so it can take bookings when you're on your honeymoon. But also, if you are the kind of person who struggles with, or you find any sort of conflict quite hard, of like saying no to a client, or saying, no, I can't move you to 8 p.m, I'm with my kids, or you've cancelled and, now there's a cancellation fee or there's a booking fee to book in, it does that job for you. It's like your doorman, it's like your bouncer. And I think it is so helpful for people who are like that. And I think a lot of hair and beauty people, because we're such natural people pleasers, we also feel really conflict avoidant. So it's you can almost be like, oh, it's a booking system. Well, if it's not on there, the hours, they're not available. So it's a really good, like, kind of protection.
Yeah, I love this, because that's actually how I always sell it, because I always tell my clients, I'm like, you should charge everything up front. Like, you can do a deposit, that's good. That's like a good first step. If you don't charge anything, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But I think you should charge up front the whole amount. Like, I used to run a marketplace before, and we charge up front, and there was never a problem. When you buy an airline ticket, you pay up front. Everywhere you go, you pay up front. So why not for your hair and beauty services? And sometimes they're like, oh yeah, but how am I going to break this down? Like, just tell that our system doesn't do anything else. Like, just say that, just pay me on the system. I don't mind, like, just say exactly.
Yeah. I always say to people, blame me. So, and this goes to anyone listening to this, even if this is the first time you've ever encountered me, just say, oh, I'm working with a pricing coach and she's just said that the business can't sustain these prices. And I'm like, show them me, because I'm like 6 foot north and I've got my neck tattooed. Like, I look much scarier than what I actually am. I'm really soft. But if they just want to say, look, I'm not going against her, she's told me this. So honestly, this is a permission slip. Like, blame me, blame the system. My accountant lets me blame her for things if I need to. So it's good to have that sort of backup, and, we're willing to be that.
That is a really, hard part, I think, when people have been doing their profession for a long time, and then they're like, okay, I need to change my prices. How am I going to do this? Like, what is the first step that you kind of give them to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So before any of the logistical implementation, what I invite people to do is just be curious about their thought process, and in particular language around it. Because I see, I've got a group associated with a calculator. So it's all the questions in there are around either using the calculator or doing the increase. Most of them are around actually implementing the increase. And the language I see so interesting. It's like, how do you warn clients? And I'm like, warn, that's interesting. It's not like an impending earthquake, it's a price increase. So there's just be kind of mindful of, are we putting this language around it that implies it's this really negative, scary kind of thing? And I know there's this debate of, on one side people say, well, supermarkets don't announce their prices, so we don't have to. I disagree with that, because if you walk into a supermarket, all of the prices are available, and there is a great deal of choice. You could go for the basics or the taste of difference or whatever. So the prices are there. But also, I don't believe you have to tell people about a price increase where it doesn't impact them. So for me, the only people that when I was behind the chair, that I needed to know that I was increasing my prices, or I wanted to know, was my current clients. So I would not do a public announcement. I would not do something on Instagram or social media, because if someone's been kind of watching you with intent to book, they might feel some sort of way of oh damn, the price is up, and there's psychology of price and things like that. I would just speak to my current clients and just be like, hi guys, just let you know there's going to be a price increase 1st of April. This is where they'll be. Got any questions? Can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for being a client. Super, just as few words as possible. My rules for any announcement: don't apologize, don't justify, don't waffle. The amount of times I've seen War and Peace, it is with great sadness and regret that we have no choice but to think. And I'm like, why is it so bad? Stop making it such an awful, you're not announcing a bloody obituary. So you just tell the people that you need to know. But the cool thing is that once it becomes this regular part of how you do business, clients are just yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, it's April. Yeah, cool. We have one in April. I've done 3 in a year. I've worked with clients who've done 4 in a year. And a really, really important part about increasing prices is knowing that you are nailing your value articulation. So especially if you want to segue into kind of quite high ticket or transformative stuff, you have to understand marketing, market position, and value articulation. Because when people see the value in what you do, price becomes so much less relevant. But if they can't compare you to the cheap place down the road, because they don't know what the difference is, then that can become a struggle. And that's where I see people losing clients off the back of a price increase. So that's a very long answer, is tell the people who need to know in a very short way, and learn how to articulate the value in what you do.
How would you, that's a really good point on value articulation. How would you go about that?
Mm-hmm. So generally, I don't think most people need to change anything about their current way of working. I think however you work right now, there is some way to leverage the like existing intrinsic value. So people that automatically think that there's no value in what they do are the mobile people. So they're like, well, I'm mobile, I should be cheap, because that's the, the culturally accepted, someone comes and cuts your hair at home, it's 10 quid. And what I'd say to them is, Chris Appleton is Kim Kardashian's hairdresser, right? Does he charge her less money because he comes to her house in Calabasas? No. You can position being mobile as this like private, discreet, luxury, high end, like I'll come to you. Think about who you're aiming for. Like I think a really good demographic is other entrepreneurs, because we generally see the value in other, people's workload, like how we do. They have more disposable income, they have more flexibility, they're more likely to be available on like a Tuesday afternoon if you don't want to do so many weekends and evenings. So like pitching, if someone came to my house to do my hair, I can literally work while they're doing my hair. I can make the money of my appointment. So I'm like net positive. Whereas if I have to go to a salon, I have to park and drive, and it's like half a, potentially full day out of my work. So it's like, how do you, that person never had to not be mobile. They just had to completely reposition what mobile meant and who that was there for. And you can do that with anything. There are so many people who are like, oh, well, I already use like vegan friendly, cruelty free, like eco friendly stuff. I just don't tell anyone. I'm like, oh my God, to someone that's like the most important thing, and they will pay more because that aligns with their like internal values. So I kind of like get people to do an audit of what's going on right now. Like, how can we not change anything, but just reposition this and almost like tie it up in a bun, represent it out to the marketplace?
Clever, really clever. It's almost like that, finding your niche and then highlighting it in more ways so that people can actually really understand who you are as the individual businesswoman.
Yeah, and even like a booking system as a USP. Like I'm like such a like millennial. Like, do not call me ever. Like, do not make me call you. Let me book. I was so happy I had to book not happy. My poor cat's not very well, but I could book an appointment at my vet, which by the way is about 100 steps from my door. But I booked it online, and I was like, oh, this is so much easier. Like because convenience is so important to people. And again, if you want to go for that busy entrepreneur, busy mums, whatever, convenience is like so crucial. So again, if you have a booking system, talk about why that's so helpful to the client, because it's actually, they'll get a reminder, they'll know how much they're going to pay or what's due on the day, they'll get a reminder of the next appointment to be booked. They can book, I book things at like 1 a.m. I'll just pop in my head, I'll be like, right, I need this. So, sharing with clients, again, it's already there in your business, but like, how can you reposition that and make it amazing and attractive for your clients?
Really clever. Does your booking system still suck? Then you should look into Jenna.
Hey, I'm Jen, and I'm the founder of Jenna. We created Jenna specifically for solo business owners. We know how hard it is to build your business, and without the right tools, it's even harder. Booking systems suck because they're designed for big salons. They're complicated, they have expensive monthly fees, and loads of hidden fees. And that's why we built Jenna.
With Jenna, you can look professional with a professionally designed website where you need no tech skills.
Jenna also helps you get your evenings back, because on average, beauty pros spend 45 minutes going back and forth with their clients. With Jenna, you can set your boundaries. Our system takes bookings, sets reminders, and handles payments automatically.
And with Jenna, we know how important it is for you to build your own brand with your own website, which is fully customizable. You don't sit next to your competitors on a marketplace, and we make sure that you stand out to your clients.
And the best is that it's only £19 per month. That's it.
No way!
With Jenna, there are no new client fees, no hidden fees, and no unexpected big bills at the end of the month.
This sounds too good to be true, but it's not. So check it out on jenna.so or look for @jenna.ai_ on Instagram.
Check out Jenna on the App Store as well.
And I think that also, for people working on their own, as self-employed, you are your business, and it's your whole life. And I think we touched on it briefly before, but like having those boundaries and having those, trying to think of everything as that one kind of you're sole trader, you're trying to do it all. It's so much. You're trying to organise your accounts, you're trying to speak to clients, and you're trying to do the bookings. You can't do it all. So trying to find ways in which you can make your life easier.
Yeah, I did a survey, like an industry survey last year, and I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but what I wanted to show people was how much they earn per hour of client-facing work, because again, that's all they think about. They go, I would call it like bums on seats hours. And then I was like, let's just also take into account like how much time you spend, the wholesalers doing your accounts, booking people in. And when they factored all of the time required to do the job, which I believe and teach people you should be paid for, because in any other job you're paid for the whole of the job, that actually dropped them below minimum wage, which was really shocking. And I was like, if that's the case, you should literally go and work in Aldi. Like, you would be better treated, better paid, and have better conditions. You'd have more time off, you'd have a pension, you'd get sick pay, maternity pay, and you could just do your last scan of the day, go home, and not have to actually worry at all about, do I have a business to go back to next week? So I think we need to be, as on that note as well, benchmarking so far from minimum wage, because I see a lot of people, that's another mistake people make, is like, oh, well, minimum wage is X, so if I just go a little bit above this, that's my hourly rate. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not, because that's, if you just factor in bums on seat time, like, you will be making less than minimum wage. And we shouldn't be anywhere near minimum wage. Like, we've spent immense amounts on our education, time, blood, sweat, tears, the emotional toll, like people trauma dump on us all day. Like, we take so much in. We have to constantly upskill, spend time on marketing and stuff like that. So we shouldn't be anywhere near that. And as I was saying before, we're not getting paid lunches. No one's contributing to our pension if we don't get any, if we're sick, like, where is that money coming from? So we need to be really aiming a lot higher, I think.
And how much higher than minimum wage should they be aiming for approximately? Like, is it like 10%, 30%?
Well, I can't 50%? Say that specifically because, well, it depends, like back to the analogy of like her down the road, one person could live really comfortably on £15 an hour because they've got no, let's say there's like, a 25-year-old who lives at home with her parents and they've done her out like a nice little garden cabin, whatever. Like, she could be absolutely fine on £13 an hour because a rent's paid, she pays, no board lodge, no bills, maybe a car's paid for, maybe she pays a £15 phone bill. I'd be buzzing at that age with no overheads with 15 quid an hour. Yet you might have her mum might do her as well, who has a salon with big overheads and big bills and this huge mortgage and credit card debt and 3 or 4 kids to feed. So her £15 doesn't go anywhere. It's nowhere near enough. And that's why it is so crucial. I wish more than anything that I could just say, guys, here's the magic formula. Everyone just do this. Isn't that dead easy? Because my life would have been a lot more chill the last sort of 4 or 5 years. But yeah, sadly, there's a bit of maths involved because there's a lot of moving parts on where you're at now, also where you want to be. There's especially if you're heading towards the VAT threshold, like, you have to be making a plan now, not looking back going, oh, my accountant's just told me that I owe HMRC 15 grand because I didn't realize that I'd hit VAT, and now what am I going to do? So, making little plans.
Can you maybe explain? I know what it is, but obviously I think it would be very helpful to understand what is the VAT threshold? How does that impact you? What happens when you hit it?
Yeah, exactly. So the VAT threshold was £85,000. It is now, I believe, £90,000. And where people tend to go wrong is, one, it's on turnover, and 2, it's on a rolling period, which is just HMRC yet again just being really complicated needlessly. So where your tax year is your sort of 6th of April to 5th of April, that is turnover in any 365-day period. So let's say you just in 2 months, for some reason you had 2 really, really good months, but one was in March and one was in April. Let's say you did 50 grand in either of those months and you think, oh, brilliant, that's 2 tax years. No, you've just hit the VAT threshold. So, and a lot of accountants as well, and I learned this lesson myself, a lot of accountants are not management accountants. I assumed an accountant would sort of keep an eye on your numbers and let you know when you're going to hit the VAT threshold. Some of them are more kind of bookkeeper type, very reactive, like you need to ask them for stuff. My accountant now, who is like the love of my life, Lorraine, I've worked with her for years, she is like so in my business, in my taxes. She knows what my life goals are, like my mortgage, like my husband's situation. Like she knows so much about my life and my plans. So she can be like, do this now, because in a couple of years, this is where you want to be. So yeah, if you hit it, you then need to add, the standard rate is 20% on top. So it's not, people go wrong because they think if it's 100, I need to give 20. It's not. If it's 100, you need to add 20, and then you give that to the tax man. So you become an unpaid tax collector. What a joy. But also, that's input tax. So any money that you bring in, you need to add 20% of the total amount, not the profit. Give that to the tax man. But also you can claim VAT back on anything you've bought where you've paid VAT on it. So your colours. You can also backdate some of it. So if you've had training, there's certain rules on it. So obviously speak to an accountant. So your first VAT return is usually not quite that terrible, because you will tend to have a lot of stock and there's a lot of things you can put through. But the ones after that, a little bit tougher. What I do see is a lot of people trying to sometimes artificially stay under the VAT threshold. Personally, I believe you should strive to go over it and really far over it. And I think that's possible even for solo hair and beauty therapists. There are so many missed opportunities for profitability, for upselling, cross-selling. There are many, many ways to make money as a hair and beauty professional that is not just client work as well. And I imagine it's incredibly stressful to be keeping just under and being like, oh, I can't book this person in, or people do all sorts of things with cash, which is like, no. I just don't think we should be working in that way. I think we should be like, how do we have a really thriving business and plan for it so it's not terrifying, price for it properly, but also set goals to then be as profitable as possible beyond that. And I've seen people do that really, really successfully. But it's a mindset thing. Again, it's a culture of the industry. Oh, no, stay underneath the VAT threshold. It kills businesses.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think like this is what kills your ambition, makes you think small instead of thinking like this kind of scarcity mindset instead of this abundance mindset, which is what you always want to have. Like, I can get more. There is more out there. Let's say I'm like a hair or beauty professional. I'm starting out. I'm like under the VAT threshold. I have a booking system. What else do I need to think about? How do I make this like a thriving business? What are the other kind of revenue streams I should be thinking about adding? Yeah,
absolutely. So if you're in that kind of phase, the other things that I'd really get right, obviously pricing needs to be right from day dot, policies, and obviously in tandem with your booking system then encompasses pricing and policies as well. So having really clear policies, like I completely agree with you, Jem, about the payment up front. Like that makes it so logical when you say everyone else does it. When I came back from the lockdown, because I had like hundreds of clients to manage, I made a spreadsheet, obviously, and it was color coded. And I just give everyone two choices. I was like, you pay in full or you pay 50%. And actually, I was surprised by how many people I chose to pay in full. I like paying in advance because it's like girl math. You get there and you're like, wow, this is free. That's so cool. So yeah, I would absolutely not be letting anyone pay me the entire amount on the day. I 100% would not be letting anyone pay me after the appointment. The whole, my card's not working or anything like that. So have card capture set up, like protect yourself so much. And then in terms of other revenue, there's like the kind of more old school ones like product sales. But there's a friend of mine, Sarah King, she's an educator in the industry, and she does a masterclass and talks about, she came up with, I want to say, like 54 revenue streams, but there were just so many. It's like working with brands, paid partnerships, collaborations, wedding hair, specializing in like curly hair, becoming an educator, independent educator, in-person educator, educator for a brand, working on stalls at Salon International, affiliate, people affiliate for me for my calculator, so they make revenue when they recommend it. What I do, like online education, in-person education, TikTok, the bane of my life, TikTok creator, they can pay you if you get really big on TikTok. There's just heaps you could go and assist, you could go and do session work, and ones that I can't even come up with on the spot. Like there are so many ways to make so much more money than you can imagine. But again, exactly like you say, it's a mindset. Like if you think this is a low paid industry, that it has to be incredibly physically taxing and not rewarding, but you're in it for the quote unquote love. Like love will bring you to this industry, absolutely, but it will not stick around. Like no matter how much you love what you do and love your clients, like if you are not getting paid well and you know that, and it doesn't feel like a fair exchange, you will start to get really, really resentful. And where I see people love their business the most is when they are also getting really fairly compensated. They're working with these amazing clients that I call rockstar clients, who are really respectful, really aligned, recommend you to everyone, like easy to be around. That is when that love and that passion is like the most burning, because it's like everyone's winning. It shouldn't be like I have to lose, but I'm so passionate about it and everyone else gets to gain. Like that's a surefire way to start really hating your life and your job.
That's a really good point. I couldn't agree more. And you talk about those rock star clients. I mean, these are a little bit like kind of gold dust. Like, how do you find those rock star clients? Because I know exactly what you mean. Like those ones who would pay full price, they will pay upfront. Like I also much prefer paying upfront for my services, just for like a stupid reason. It's like, I'm like, if I paid it, I have it. If I haven't paid, they can always cancel.
It is. It makes sense. I get that. I think first you have to define who they are. So what I work with people, I've got a marketing program, so we do like a deep dive into this. And what comes up quite a lot is they realize that they are their own rockstar client. And I think who easier a person to work with and sell to and have this like relationship with, because you are entering into a potentially very long-term relationship with your clients, is you, or you of maybe a couple of years ago. So like, who were you before you realized that, you know, let's say you're a curly hair specialist and you got into it because you had curly hair, no one else could, you know, make it look good, and you had all those struggles. Like you understand that challenge and that problem like so intimately firsthand that you are the best placed person to then go out to other people who were you of a few years ago and be like, I completely get it. And this is how it felt. And when you can, like, for me, I just think marketing's resonance. Like, your marketing should just have everyone comment and being like, oh my God, this is me. Or, you know, I feel seen, or I feel called out. Like, that's when you know you're doing a great job. So yeah, think about who that person is. They might be different from you, but like, I've never had a rock star client who's like, I'm not saying I don't like posh people, but like, I'm very like regional accent, very working class. Like, I would find it quite hard just to know how to interact with like, you know, a 70-year-old like baroness from Mayfair. I would be like so nervous. So, you know, a lot of my rock star students are very much like me. So like animated, loud, you know, ADHD, like hyper, like excitable, and you maybe controversial, happy to, you know, take a stand in some way, shape or form, vocal. Like they're the people that I love working with. So sometimes it's like, well, who am I? Or I always think if you build things that you would have loved to have had, like you just can't go wrong with that. And I also think if you want good clients, you should be a good client. And what I can't bear is when hair and beauty professionals or any self-employed service professionals post on, you know, Facebook, wherever, saying, I'm looking for a plumber, but they must be cheap. Because how pissed would they be if when someone goes, I want a hairdresser who needs to be cheap, you know, we're all up in arms. So I think be respectful to your fellow service providers and business owners. Leave other people reviews, tip other people, be the client that you want to attract. And whether it's a universe or energetic thing, whatever, like show up like that and you will attract clients who are just the same.
That's so true. I love that. I mean, your social media has been probably kind of like a great pull for new people to come and find you as well. How have you found growing that, and how much part of your business is that when you think about the whole thing? Because you talk about marketing and how people should show up and show off themselves. How much has social media played into?
Like a huge amount. And I actually like really don't like social media, or I try to be on it as little as possible. So that's why I find really like efficient ways. I talk about like less is more marketing. Like what's the least I can possibly do to get like the biggest impact? Because I like literally hate TikTok. If I could exist on TikTok without having anything to do with it, that would be cool. But I want to be where my people are. And, you know, that was my Facebook group. What worked really well for me, what I'd say is like the sort of heyday of like the growth in my business was in lockdown when I was going live a lot. So as soon as the Prime Minister did an announcement, I would do an announcement, but it was like, I was like, well, guys, this is what he's saying. We don't have to listen to, okay, this is what this means for us. And it got to the point, and I loved it because I love feeling connected to my community, my audience. Like, it's great on loads of levels, like just a personal level, but also from marketing and knowing how to best serve them. Like I have to be in that conversation to really see that quickly. But it got to the point where like people's partners were like, just wait till Maddi does hers. Don't worry about this. Maddi will be on. So like all these partners like knew that I did it. And I love lives. I love long format. I love podcasts, like speaking, like auditory is how I process things. So I'm not a big emailer, blog writer. That doesn't feel that sort of easy for me. But yeah, I have like a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. It can be hard at times, but I just try and have fun. Like I show up and I don't really I take what I do really seriously, but the day-to-day, I just really like to have fun in my business. And, today I was talking about traitors. Like I love being in the DMs with people, like just enjoying it. But when you're so connected to what you do and really love what you do and love the people that you do it with, it doesn't feel like a slog in the same way as when I've worked in previous jobs that it's like, oh God, I've got to ring this person, try and sell this thing that I don't really like, I don't believe in it, and I'm going to try and convince them, it becomes so much more natural, and the success like follows that. Like I don't think you should start with like, oh, I'm here to make XYZ money. I think it's like, okay, what do I absolutely love? What am I good at doing? Who would I just love to work with? And what's like the most I could help this person? Put that out in a way that you enjoy doing, and it just, everything else kind of comes as a kind of back end to that.
That's a great way to think about it, definitely. Because I do think people come to Instagram or Facebook and they're nervous of it. They're scared. I don't want to be in front of the camera, but you've picked almost the ways in which you like to communicate with people and made it work for you rather than the other way
just
around.
Lean into it. And it makes me laugh when people are like, oh, I'm not good at selling. I'm like, you can sell. Like when you've got a client in your chair, I should be on commission for air fryers, right? So many people have bought an air fryer because I go on about it. I'm like, this is the recipe. Like I'll talk about the traitors. I'll talk about, people will message me and be like, oh, you mentioned this on a podcast a year ago and I've just tried it. And it's like, we all naturally influence people, and especially behind the chair, because we talk about like what's happening on Coronation Street, or I've just been to see Wicked, or whatever the thing is at the time. We're really good at selling, but we quite often don't like selling our stuff. We're good at selling other people's things. So it's a bit like, how do you have that shift? But yeah, it's like it's an energy thing. And I also am I am exactly the same in real life as I am online, because the worst thing I'd want is for someone to meet me at an event and be like, oh, you're so different. Like I was at Pilates this week and someone who couldn't see me said, I know that voice. And she was like, I follow you. And I was like, oh my God. Which still like really like blows my mind. But yeah, she was like, I follow you. So it's like, it's that like familiarity. People know my wallpaper, they know my setup, they hear my voice all the time, and it becomes so, I have some like real rock star, like die-hard followers and clients that I absolutely love. But you have to show yourself. And I know people don't want to do video, they don't want to speak, they think, oh, I don't like my voice. I hated it. I was like, I speak too fast, I've got a weird accent, like I don't look like a coach, I don't sound like a coach, I'm not like speaker trained. Yet all of those things are the reasons that people are like, that's why I follow you, because you remind me of me, or you're someone that I would like hang out with in real life. So all this stuff, I promise you, if you listen to this, that you think will be the bad thing is the magnetic thing. Do just be you on purpose. Like I think it's Dolly Parton said that. So
no, I love that. I think that's so true. And I think like you're completely right. Like everything that makes you is what doesn't make someone else. Like, because you are you, nobody else can be you. So if you're just you, like you'll be unique.
It's uncopyable. And like, yeah, like we see, and I've experienced this. I've had quite a lot of, challenges with people copying things, whatever, but they just can't be you. They can be like a sort of a Wish version of you or a Shein version of you. Like they'll never be the same you. And it always comes off a little bit weird, because you can just tell subconsciously when someone is so in how they are, like really authentically, versus, oh, I'm going to say this because this person said it, or someone told me to say it like this. Like, and it's so easy. It's such an easy strategy to go, I'm just going to be me. Oh, well, don't have to think about that. That's like second nature. So.
And what would you tell them? Like,
easy
would you say like, because I know like a lot of our audience, they think of like what Sam said, they're afraid of social media. Like, oh, I need to post every day. I need to put myself out there. So yes, be yourself, but then what should they do? Like, should they like take pictures of their setup? Yeah. Should they take pictures of themselves? Should they themselves at the gym? Like, how do you kind of put yourself out there in your authentic self?
you can do all of that. And again, language, like people seem to really not like this idea of putting myself out there. So if that language makes you feel some sort of way, like as if you kind of stood in front of everyone else, maybe instead just be like, I'm just going to share more of myself, or I'm going to bring my clients into my life that already exists. I'm going to show them my dogs, and I'm going to talk about what I've been watching. And I think it's like baby steps. Like I don't want to throw anyone's like nervous system into absolute meltdown. So like if that means putting your current clients or your favorite clients on close friends on Instagram, so you've got this really nice little safe, I'm just going to test the waters and send stuff to these and see what their interest is. But I mean, you'll have heard this as well. How many people say the best engagement that I've ever had nothing to do with my work? Yet we like agonize over this like amazing before and after picture. Then we can put a picture of like a coffee or our brunch, or for me, you know, like a pair of Crocs or something, and everyone like loses their mind. So it's a bit like invite people into your world because people buy from people, but you certainly don't need to be, you don't need to have a podcast, like you don't need to be going live. You don't even necessarily need to speak until you feel okay doing that, but just take those little baby steps of like, who is the human behind the chair? Because that's who people are coming to. Like, yes, you've got a skill set, but people buy from people, especially in our industry. So it's like we need to share who that is. And if you think from a client's perspective, I wouldn't want to go for a hair appointment if I didn't know what the person looked like. I don't want to walk into a salon and be like, who's this person? Like, what, you know, this name? I want to, I know I'm getting into quite a long relationship and a very trusting relationship with this person. Like, I want that trust to be built, and we build that by that rapport, which is kind of sharing our lives, being a part of theirs. Like, follow your clients as well. I know loads of people who are like, oh no, I don't want to follow them, and I don't, you know, and it's like, well, it's social media, like it's social,
that's what it's about.
Like, let's just hang out
Exactly.
and then move that into business.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah,
I mean,
so easy.
Maddi, thank you so much for this. This was like amazing. So where can people find you? I think that's probably like really important, like right now. So on Instagram, you're at Boss Your Salon. Your website is bossyoursalon.com.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if they are not familiar with your what you do, there is a free masterclass, how to overcome the 5 most common pricing mistakes, which I think is something everybody should do.
Yeah.
And I believe like you've also been working on like this new program, Elevate, I think.
Yeah, so Elevate's not new, but I run it live once a year, so that's being run at the moment. But if depending on when you're listening to that, that might be, we do like a sort of self-paced version where people just come through on their own. We're doing a live one. And then I also have another page, which is It's Maddi Cook, which is for people who want to get into education and launch their first or next online course. And I'll be running that later this year as well. So whatever phase you're at, if you've just literally picked up a pair of scissors or you're ready to get into education.
That's amazing.
Like,
thank you so much for this. We're so happy that you spend this morning with us. Yeah. And everybody at Boss Your Salon, it's Maddi Cook, bossyoursalon.com. Go follow Maddi, have a look at what she does if that resonates with you.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt.